Welcome back to the Investor Professor podcast. This is Dr. Ryan Peckham. This is episode 29, Your Goals. So happy New Year, everybody. This is probably the most favorite episode I've ever recorded. We were lucky enough to get 4 of you to let me interview you to talk about your goals for 2022. And so we have a nice little mashup here of individuals who are willing to share their goals for 2022. And I hope it inspires you to come up with a game plan for yourself, to help yourself get organized, write your goals down, and really start 2022 with some purpose, some intention, and to be proactive with your future. So I'm excited to see what you think of this episode. So let's get to work. Okay, so let's get this going. I will say that this is a much longer episode than most that you've listened to. Part of that is we go through their goals, we look at it, we discuss it. I think you'll enjoy the conversation back and forth. These are some people at different life stages. This first person is going to be somebody in their early 30s that discusses some family goals, things of that nature. And I will say I'm not a master engineer, never done anything like this before. So we'll see if I can piece these together in some kind of some fashion that's enjoyable for you. So I did learn that I say the phrase "here we go" way too many times. So that's a goal of mine. I got to work on that. Got to increase the vocabulary. So I hope you enjoy this first guest that we have up. All right. So here we go. Let's talk about some goals. I have a special guest. I'm keeping everybody anonymous so that, we protect their identity for a while. But why don't you go ahead and just start talking about some of the goals you've set for 2022?
Okay. Sounds good. I always set my goals in a few different categories. I have fitness goals, financial goals, and then usually some kind of intellectual goal to be my main focus.
Okay.
Starting out, my fitness goals will be, I think they're paramount to the success of all the other goals and staying on top of those. So the first thing I want to do, and I'm starting January 1st, is what's called a 75 hard. You guys may have heard about this. It's a program Andy Frisella has put together. He doesn't advertise it as a fitness goal. It's more as a mental discipline type thing. And that's the route I'm trying to approach it from. But it does have a strong fitness component to it.
So isn't that I think I've heard of that. Isn't that like 2-a-days basically?
Yeah. So it's 75 days of clean eating, no cheat meals. You have to follow a diet. You can set the parameters of your diet. And then 2 45-minute workouts, one of which has to be outside. And then 10 pages of educational reading.
Oh, there you
and
go.
There's a few other things in there with that, but that's the bulk of it.
Okay. So I have a friend who did that, and all he did was walk.
Yep. Mm-hmm.
And he lost 31 pounds.
Yep. It's amazing. And you really can stack up some miles too, doing that. You wouldn't think, but you're talking 300 or 400 miles of walking by the time you're done with it.
Yeah. No, that's a good one. I like what you said, where this kind of is the base or the foundation for all your other goals. Cause I don't think that most people realize that having something that's kind of your anchor sets up success for other areas of your life.
Yeah, absolutely.
That fitness goal. Because it's not just the fitness goal. It's not just working on your body. It's the mental clarity that comes with it, right?
Absolutely. Absolutely. They say fitness is the best or exercise is the best antidepressant, but nobody ever prescribes it,
Yeah. That's exactly right, man. That's exactly right.
So
sometimes just getting outside is a big deal for people.
Just getting some sunshine. So I'm gonna start my year with that, and that'll be over mid-March, going that route, and I'm hoping that'll set a good foundation for the rest of the year through the habits. And my the second fitness goal I have is to run 2 50Ks, 2 ultramarathons this year. I did one last year and was decently pleased with my performance. So I just I want to keep those going and keep working up in mileage over the coming years. And so that'll be my stepping stones for that this year.
Hey, we're American and we're bad at Ks. So how many miles is that?
That is 31 miles, 31.5 actually, if you want to be real specific.
Or which one, have you decided which races you're going to do?
Not yet. I did my dream race for next year is called the Sangre de Cristo run. It starts in a little town called Westcliff, Colorado. And so the whole run is over 10,000 feet in elevation, all in the mountains. So it'd be a real slog out there, but I think it'd be a good challenge.
Going up or going down?
Both. I think it has about 7,000 feet of climbing.
Jeez,
so
man. All right. So
then the other one I'll just do something
so when
easy,
you do those
local.
When you do those 50Ks, what's the hardest part for you?
The one I did in October of this year, it ended up getting really hot. I know it was October, but it was triple digits where I was doing it. And so in that one, the hardest part was just staying with it and staying hydrated and fueled up. When you think about running for 6 or even 8 hours, this can happen in these things. Mm-hmm. You really have to eat full meals basically while you're doing it. And that can be a hard too, making sure you're eating things that aren't gonna bomb your gut. Mm-hmm. You can't really just rely on gels the whole time. You usually need some kind of solid food.
Do your feet ever hurt or need like any of that stuff, or are you pretty good there?
I'm usually okay there. Really, when my feet and body hurt is actually in the early stages of it. And then I think you just kind of work out of it. But everything hurts after.
I know. It's weird. Yeah. I'm flat footed. So when I do my marathons and stuff, it's usually my feet that end up hurting, that's normally for me. But after so many miles, it really just doesn't matter. That's what I tell people too, because they're like, well, I'm going to do it somewhere pretty. And I'm like, well, after so many miles, it doesn't really matter how pretty it is.
Right. I kind of, in this last one, I don't know if it was the heat or what, but I almost kind of got tunnel vision and almost really couldn't see anything other than just what was right in front of me. I don't know if I was in some kind of zone or if I really had true tunnel vision or what, but you go through a lot of stuff.
Dehydrated and delusional is probably
seriously.
The heat is a big problem on some of those races, especially the long ones like that. It becomes pretty scary for people.
Yeah. So had great aid stations though. So thanks to those guys.
That's good. All right. So that's it for fitness. And then what are we going to do? Where are we jumping next?
So next will be my intellectual. And you actually talked about this on one of your recent shows, a reading goal. Mm-hmm. I do like to read in quantity. So my goal next year is 36 books. That'll be broken up. Probably 2/3 of it's usually pretty just fiction writing, nothing real heavy. And then that other third will be educational reading. And I do take my time with those books a little more and try to extract information. And then part of that too is I'll always go back and type up a summary of the book and bullet point highlights and things out of it so I can reference back to them and actually draw action items out of them or things I need to implement or that I want to think on further. And so I usually aim for one book like that a month. And then the fiction books, I just, that's more of a leisure thing.
Well, and we have to say, you do host a podcast on where you're doing books. So
yes, I do. The Bourbon Bookshelf podcast.
That's right. So, it does go with what you're doing. So how do you find most of the books? I think that's, where do you find the books that you decide you want to read?
That's a good question. A lot of it's just browsing bookstores, looking for things. On the educational books, I usually have a general topic I'm looking for. I like leadership books. I really like books about our founding fathers, or people who built successful businesses in the age before internet. And so I kind of look for topics on that, and it's hard to find those books now, because now every book, if you go to Barnes and Noble and look at the business profiles, it's all tech companies, and those just aren't as interesting to me.
Yeah. So going back to your fitness, do you ever listen to books? Do you listen while you're running or anything like that?
Sometimes I listen to podcasts a lot, mostly while I'm running. Okay. I will, if I can find an audiobook that I can tolerate the reader, I'll listen to them. A really good audiobook I've been listening to is Principles by Ray Dalio. Right now.
Yeah, he's really good. It's interesting. I've found some good books, because I listen to a lot of audiobooks. If I get a really good narrator, Audible allows you to search by the narrator.
Oh, really?
And so that's a pretty neat way to expose yourself to other books you probably would never come across, just because you're like, hey, this is a really good narrator. I'll listen to them. Whatever they're reading, I might be interested in,
Yeah.
I mean, that's a really neat feature from Audible.
Yeah, I'll have to check that out. It makes a huge difference to me. And podcasts are the same way. If I can't listen to the people talk, I'm not gonna listen to it.
No, it makes all the difference in the world. So that's pretty good. So 36 books. So that's three a month, I guess, right?
Mm-hmm. Yeah. So one nonfiction and 2 fiction a month is kind of
that's pretty good. It's not a lot of room for TV in there.
No, I don't watch a whole lot of TV. I like to watch football and golf on Sundays, and I try to limit it to that.
Yeah. All right. So financial goals.
So financial goals are a little bit, I'm changing it up a little bit this year. I usually have some kind of net worth goal or earnings goal for myself personally. I have been working on getting a business going, and it's slowly gathering steam. And sort of my big goal for that is to grow it to about $3 million in assets next year.
Okay.
Which should be about a 10x from where it's at right now. So it's
not a small task.
Yeah, it feels pretty audacious right now, but I think I'm going to give it my all,
That's good. So how are you going to break that down? Are you do you measure it when you look at that, do you measure it monthly, weekly, quarterly? How do you measure it?
I'll probably on the big scale, I'm going to break it down quarterly and have quarterly targets. Obviously from there, there's things that need to happen every day,
right,
to get it going. In the business that I'm in, it's primarily real estate investment and management.
Mm-hmm.
And so things don't always necessarily happen fast in that world either. So
yeah, they're pretty, that can be pretty, I feel like for most businesses, quarterly is really the way to go.
Mm-hmm.
If you go weekly or, that's too quick. Things don't happen as fast as
you think they should.
As you think they should. And there's a good saying that, there's a, I don't know who said it, but there's a great saying that says we overestimate what we can do in a year and underestimate what we can do in 5 years.
Yep.
Right. So it's all about planting the seeds. And then, you feel like you're not really accomplishing a whole lot. And then all of a sudden you have a quarter where everything just kind of clicks into place, And so sometimes it's hard to stay focused on that when you're kind of going through it,
Yeah. Well, I find there's a lot of hurry up and wait. And then with the real estate, there's so many outside parties involved too.
Right.
You can only control what you can control.
Yeah.
But I agree with that completely. There's times you feel like you're sitting around for a month, and then all of a sudden, or 2 months even, then all of a sudden everything kind of happens in about a 3-day span that you've been working on that whole time.
Yeah. Yeah.
Feels really good when it does.
Yeah, no, it's it's a brick at a time, That's like with anything. You got to make sure that setting yourself up and you basically have the foundation to build this business or to build it to the scale that you want it to be at, that you're going to be able to maintain it, And there's been a lot of businesses where if people expand too quickly, all of a sudden they don't have the foundation to keep it going.
Right.
They get it too big too fast. And I mean, I know you've worked in banking, so you understand these things, but it can, there's a lot of things that can go. There's a lot of moving parts.
Mm-hmm. And one of my core values is making sure that, I run on just discipline across the board, real disciplined accounting principles, real disciplined financial principles. I don't want to over leverage anything. And I think just to run it well, it may slow things down, but when you're looking at a 5 or 10 year horizon on things, like you said, you'll look back and be glad you had that strong foundation from the very beginning.
Yeah, no, I mean, you want to be, there's a lot of people that are younger that listen to this podcast. And when I'm talking to students, I'm like, hey, you want the 40-year-old version of you to be really proud of the 20-year-old version of you that made the decisions you made.
Right. That's a good way of putting it.
You think about, I'm thankful that the 25-year-old version of me put money back in my 401k or paid that student loan off or, did whatever, because it frees you up later on. I mean, you never think you're going to get to that age, but when you get there, you go, man, I'm really glad I made those decisions. And that I took that risk or whatever it is, because, I believe, as you get older, your window of opportunity starts to get smaller.
Mm-hmm.
And you don't think, and that's kind of the dangerous game we play, right? Is that we promise ourselves that we'll delay something now on the promise that we'll do it later, and then later never comes. So,
well, and you talk about your window closing, it happens quick too.
Yeah.
I realize, every year seems to go by quicker the older I get. So
yeah, that's exactly right. So what other categories do you have? Do you have anything else you want to share with us?
Those are my big ones. Okay. I always have a family goal, and typically that, that's a little bit harder to measure.
Mm-hmm.
And so my aim there is to always just be present when I need to be present, and usually try to make sure we get time out of town together. I try to be pretty intentional about that, one trip a quarter or so.
Right.
Even if it's just to Ruidosa or down to Big Bend, or, doesn't have to be anything fancy, but it's time away and together.
That being present is key, right? I mean, like you try to, it's one of the hardest things about having kids is you sit there and you're staring at him, you're going, man, I'm in the moment. I want to hold on to this memory. I want to remember this. And sometimes it still feels like water through your fingers, you want to, I think about that with my daughters. I think about how many summers I have left or how many spring breaks I have left. And
want to really capitalize on it.
Yeah, you want to capitalize on that, because you realize that, man, pretty soon they're going to have their own goals and their own things that they're going to want to do. And you want to make sure you maximize that time. So,
well, and part of that, my parents are getting older. And so I really want to make an effort to see them more. They don't live here. So it's, it really requires some effort to spend time with them.
Or just making an extra phone call.
Mm-hmm.
Setting I've had those kind of goals where I call my parents, make sure I call them ever so often. It's something I have to it's not that I don't want to call them. I just have to, it's one of those things you got to be proactive with.
Right.
Otherwise you go, man, I haven't talked, it's just, time just slips by. So
yeah, we can think, I'll call them Monday, and then you forget. And the next thing you know, it's been 2 weeks. So,
well, I really appreciate you spending the time with us, sharing this. Of course, I didn't tell you this in the beginning. I didn't tell you this in the beginning, but now you're going to have to come back later in the year so we can check on you.
Yeah, let's do it.
All right, man. Well, I appreciate your time. Thank you.
Yeah, thank you.
Okay, so the next 3 are going to be hardworking 20-year-olds, some creatives, some analytical people, and maybe a voice we've heard before. I don't know. So let's give this one a listen.
All right, well, here we go. Let's talk about your goals. What do you got for us? Where do you want to start?
All right. So this one may be a little countercultural per se to this whole, investor professor thing. But one thing that I want to learn about in 2022 is how to diversify my assets beyond the market. I think that I definitely have knowledge when it comes to knowing how to invest, right? And if you look at the sum of my assets right now, it's cash or 401k, which is technically in the market, my personal stocks, which is also in the market. So I'd love to learn more about I know you've talked here on art, real estate, gold. That doesn't mean that I'm necessarily going to pursue any of those avenues. I just want to learn more about them.
That's not against the grain. I mean, that's exactly what, we talk about when we talk about asset allocation. I mean, you have to look at the different asset classes that are out there, and it's important to learn about them so that you know what is on the other side, right? Maybe I can help you out with that. Maybe we'll do some shows on that. But of those
I'd be in.
Of those that you talked about, which one are you most interested in? Which one do you want to learn about the most?
Well, I think the art one is interesting. I would need to look into all of the insurance and yada yada with that, because I think art can be a little bit controversial, right? People have their thoughts on should or how does something even gain value in that way. But I love art. I did intern for an artist. I love her work personally. I think that it's something beautiful that it just talks about storing up your treasures on earth and just shoving your money aside. And yeah, that's wise, but what's the point of that? But I think if you can also be displaying something in your home, that's awesome. Other assets that are quote unquote functional or that you're using or could take advantage of: car, boat, depreciating, paint, or art, potentially appreciating, and then you also get to enjoy it. So
correct.
I don't know.
Yeah, and most people I've ever talked to, the big key is make sure you're buying stuff you enjoy, not because you think that it's going to go up in value per se.
Sure.
Because at the end of the day, you still have to find somebody to sell it to or whatever. But art's a tricky one because you normally buy it because you like it, and then even though it appreciates, you still don't want to get rid of it because you like it.
Yeah.
It's you
pass
like
it down though, maybe.
Yeah, you like the spot that it hangs on your wall. But yeah, you can pass it down. There's a ton of different things. So the real estate one's interesting. What are you thinking about with real estate?
I don't know. It's just interesting. I have some friends that I think grew up a little bit differently, and that's sort of how their parents, just either one passed wealth down through generations, as well as, rented things out. I think you see Airbnb now, and that's, side income. I think for me, kind of always a pipeline dream. I love design. I love hosting. I think that there is a lot of nuances with that, but I think that would be a really fun project. For me, I would love to do something like that. Also in the sense of being able to pass down money through generations, getting some type of second home, and then you're able to enjoy that with your potential family, kids, grandkids, and then continue to pass that down. So I don't know, just learning more about it. It's just not something that my parents did. My dad is, very into the market, and we didn't have a lake house or anything like that. We kind of chose to travel to a lot of different places. So again, and also Airbnbs weren't big, right? We were always at hotels. And so just again, wanting to learn more about that.
Yeah. And so it's interesting. So I have clients that are obviously older than you, but I know that I have a lot of clients who were young women in their early to mid 20s that bought a condo in whatever town, city they were working in, let's say. So, but many
of they rent it out to people.
Yeah. So most of them have kept it, they had a condo in Austin, or they had a condo in Nashville, or they bought a condo wherever they were, and they've now kept that. And even though they're now in their, let's say, late 30s or early 40s, they've bought another home, but they've kept that as a rental property or an Airbnb property. And I can tell you, as somebody who, has a family, has kids, I am 100% on the Airbnb train, because when you go to a city with your family, you can either get shoved into a hotel room that,
you also have a kitchen.
yeah, it doesn't have a kitchen, doesn't have a washer and dryer, or you can, find somebody's condo or whatever that you can rent out, and you get a kitchen, a washer and dryer, and all this. Yeah, you can park. There's just so many amazing things that you can do. Man, I got to tell you, it's great to go on a vacation and be able to do all your laundry before you come home.
Yep. In college, I was like, I watched so many videos of like Airbnb tours, like how to start an Airbnb. Like I went kind of nuts and was like really into it. I think that, or like if I was convinced I was going to settle in Dallas, I would love to like buy a place and like rent out rooms to my friends, because I'm like, okay, like I'm paying right now, like what I'm paying for my 1-bedroom apartment, I could probably pay a little bit more for a house, and I could have people pay into that. I could probably still, like with what I'm like paying now, have 2 bedrooms, 1 to sleep, 1 is my home office. Like if I got a 4-bedroom, right? Like 1 bedroom for myself, 1 home office, 2 friends, and be like still coming out ahead. But yeah. So yeah, between that and the Airbnb. So I'll keep you updated. I also just feel like with photography, right? Like I feel like I could run a good social page for the Airbnb, because I think that's half the battle. I went to an Airbnb my senior year at the bottom of Mount Rainier, and I submitted photos to them afterwards and was like, oh, hey, me and my friends, I just took these. I'm a photographer on the side, and they like loved them and like used them and stuff. And so now I'm even like, wait, before I go to Airbnb, I should be like, hey, I'll give you free photos if you give me a free night. Like I just gave you something for free. But like,
yeah, you totally,
whatever.
Yeah, you should. I mean, your last trip, those photos looked really good. So, I mean, and the thing about it too, like I think about if you were to get a second place, the nice thing about like a condo versus a home is that there's always people in the building to watch over it. Whereas if you have like a single home, like if you're not there, if there's not somebody there watching it, it's a little bit different. So that's good. So what do we got number 2?
Yeah. So then the next one is, this isn't really like, I wouldn't put this one as one of those SMART goals. It's kind of vague, but just to try like new outdoor activities or new like ways to get my body moving. I'm not someone like, I really don't want to be like, oh, I'm going to like do this workout or like this race, but like I'm more of like activities. So like kayaking, I love like biking with my dad. Like, I don't know, just stuff like that. I even like loved like flag football and gym, which is like the weirdest thing. Like I loved wiffle ball and like softball and playing catch like growing up. And so I feel like just little activities like that, I don't know, if they get you outside, I think is something I want to like do more of.
Why don't you go big and like go skydiving for us and give us a report on skydiving?
I want to do that like an Interlaken. Another one, sailboating. I would love to like learn how to sailboat. I think that'd be super fun. So see how this isn't like I'm gonna go run a mile. It's like outdoor activities.
Sailing looks like a lot of work. I did bungee jump one time. I hated that. That was not fun.
Yeah. I love boating though. So, I mean, I honestly should just put that as an entire separate thing, like spend X amount of hours on a boat.
Okay. All right. Okay. And Roy, what
next one?
Yeah, next one. What we got after boating?
Okay. So the next one is more of like a faith-based, but I think for me, one thing is just like growing in like the spiritual discipline of scripture memory. And so I think that is something that I want to get into in the new year, because like it was something that I was like stronger in college, or kind of like fall in and out of. And I think for me, like even someone that like their faith isn't necessarily like, they're like, that's not, what drives their life. Like as humans, like people will like cling to some words. It's like, you're going to cling to a quote, you're going to cling to a backdrop, you're going to cling to a post-it note, you're going to cling to like a compliment that a friend gave you. And for me, like, I feel like my greatest source of truth is like, for me, like who the Lord says that I am. And so I think for me, especially is like, when I'm like battling like insecurities or like lies or things that I believe about myself, like that's just like the strongest thing that I can like use against that. And so I feel like if I'm able to like cling to just like God's word, then that's like truth, and that's not going to change. So that's definitely something I want to do in the new year. I've done it before. I like put index cards and put them like on a ring, and we'll kind of like memorize them that way. I think like it would be easy to say like one verse a week, but I think for me, I don't like, I want to make sure it's not just like, oh, I'm memorizing. It's like memorize like garbage in, garbage out. I really want to like have it and it's like there.
Yeah.
So I don't know, maybe even like one every 2 weeks, 3 weeks, like a month. And I also think it's like not just like something to memorize, just like memorize like something that I'm like, wow, this like really applies to me. Like I'm reading a book right now. It's by Jenny Allen. It's called Get Out of Your Head. It just talks a lot about like spiraling and like how we as humans like often like if your child is like misbehaving, like their outward behavior, like you're going to discipline and you're going to teach them and you're going to like retrain them to have good behavior. But we're really not like monitoring like our brains, and like we allow our like thoughts to like spiral out of control, and like oftentimes we don't like discipline that and we just kind of allow it to happen. And that's what like rules our emotions, and like therefore like rules are like reactions to things, or like our chain like reactions, like how we treat someone, if you start feeling like nervous about a situation, if you start getting stressed. And so I think that's just like discipline like internally, and I feel like the best way to like be offensive versus defensive in that is like scripture memory. So yeah,
that's very good, very good. I think that it's saying you have to stand guard to the door to your mind.
Yeah.
Because there's a lot of negativity out there. You think about how most people structure their day. They wake up, they look at the news, which is going to be bad. And before they go to sleep, what do? They look at the news and they think about all the bad things that are going. So, you're going to sleep, with those thoughts of, those negative thoughts. And that really, over time, can have a very impactful negative impact on your mental health. So doing those things, like for me, it's meditation, to have something that kind of clears your head. It's funny. So I have to tell you this little bit, like years ago, like I've known so many people that have done that. There's a Bible, you can read the Bible in a year. Like
I have that. Yes. The once a day Bible.
Yeah. The once a day Bible. I know so many people that have made it to like day 17. Like every year they're
Come on, guys, keep going.
They've done it.
It's like they're just trapped in Genesis, like God.
Yes,
trapped.
Yes, so they get every year it's like day 17, and then it goes in the drawer. So that's so funny.
That's tough.
Do you have any others for us that you want to share?
I've got two more.
All right, two more.
I've got two more.
Okay, I'm good.
Yeah, I think so. This next one is about travel. And as we've kind of talked about offline, I have like quite a few like weddings and bachelorettes this year, which will like automatically take me to Arizona, Wisconsin, Illinois. I'm just at one with states. I should have gone with cities. So Chicago, Breckenridge, Scottsdale, Nashville, Denver, yeah, so I'm gonna be like all over the place, but I think there's like some others like also that I want to throw in, like personal travels. I'd love to see, honestly, the big one, a hot air balloon festival. But in the sense of the New Year's in Fort Worth with photos, that the whole point of this like actually goal, or like what I'm looking for in 2022 is to like have a right balance of like travel and like investing in like my community and where my feet are. Because I think last year there was times where like, all like spring, I was like in Fort Worth every weekend doing photos and like was not around, like was not present. And it was like out of town, like every single week for like weddings, and like just like my friendships, I feel like suffered a little bit. Like I wasn't in town for those like quick moments of like, oh, we're doing a bonfire. Oh, we're doing this. Oh, we're doing that. And like, I just kept having to say no to like fun things like that. Versus then from like September to December, I like really didn't go out of town. I didn't go anywhere. And I saw like what it looked like to like really invest in my church. Like I went two-stepping. I like went to a murder mystery party with friends. Like I did Friendsgiving. Like there were so many things that I was like able to say yes to, because like I purposely said, I'm not going to go out of town the next 3 months. But then once I did go out of town and go to Idaho, I was like, dang, I really miss this like adventure and photography and getting to like see a new place. And so I think this year it's like finding that right balance of like being where my feet are, being present, not just like hitting the road every single weekend and like not getting to like be there for like special moments with my friends, but also still keeping that spontaneity and like that adventure that I know is like healthy to like either retreat to or like re-energize to.
Yeah.
So I don't really know the answer there. It's just like a thought-provoking, like I want to like aim towards like health in that versus like yo-yoing of like always in town, always out of town. Like there's some like balance. I feel like
balance there. Yeah. Well, and you're also, like we talked about, you're doing a lot of travel. You're just in the age group where everybody starts to get married and big life events happen, but you're also traveling for other people and not for yourself.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
So there's a big difference. There's a big difference.
Hey, Hot Air Balloon Festival. That's like my number one thing. Like in October, I'm like, I need to make it there. Like I have this, I want to do the road trip of like going to like White Sands and then going there. That's like, I watched like travel vlogs last night. Like it's happening.
That's funny. That's great.
Yeah.
Hey, I mean, some of my best trips have been spontaneously,
West
prepared.
Texas.
What?
Have you gone to West Texas? That was like a spontaneous one for us. Like Big Bend, Marfa, incredible. Highly recommend.
Yep, I've been there. I live pretty close to there, so. But I did one like I mean, we went to Madrid one time on like with a week's notice. Like one of those awesome, like cheap airfare, like you don't really think about it too much. So I mean, but the thing is when you're doing it for yourself, it's a big difference too than when you feel like it's an obligation. So maybe finding something in those cities that you can call your own,
Yeah.
And those are pretty great. Weddings and things like that are just hectic no matter what. Whether you're a participant or a just going to the thing. All right. So what's your last but not least?
Yeah, and last but not least, so this is hilarious, right? Because we're talking about like all these things that like I want to do or like things I want to like learn up on. But this last one is really like being able to like be in silence and be okay with it. I realize that like I always need to be almost like stimulated in some way. And I feel like that's just because I'm such like a go, go, go. And like just the way that society is now, like if I'm at home, like Spotify is playing. If I'm like cooking, the TV's on, or I'm FaceTiming a friend. If I'm in the car, I'm calling someone. And so I was talking about this with one of my friends. I'm like, but what does it look like to actually like lean into this and like see the things around me and take them in? I think 2 practical applications of this is 1, committing to if I have a drive that's less than like 8 minutes or something like that, not calling anyone or not turning on the radio and just like seeing how that goes. Like just putting down the windows, like listening to the sounds, like being with my thoughts, like using that time to think, pray, like whatever that is. That. And then the other one was in the grocery line, not being on phone, not calling anyone, not scrolling, not like having like listening to music, just like, again, like watching the sights around me, like taking in the people. And I think the same, like if I'm going to work out, like on a walk, I want music. But if I'm just going on like a stroll, I feel like if I'm with a friend, we're always going to be chatting and I'm not going to have music in. But I feel like I could like challenge myself. Like if I'm going to walk to go get a coffee at like Foxtrot across the street, like do I really need to put my AirPods in? Like that's the whole reason I was anti-AirPods, did not get them for the longest amount of time. So I was like, I don't want to be the girl. It's always got the pods in and like not listening to things around me. And I've seen that creep in. Like, yes, the convenience is great. Working out, walking, like I think it's helped me be a lot more active. But on the other side, like I just am like always like listening to something, whether it's like podcasts, like whatever. So I do think that's something that I want to like challenge myself in.
Sounds like you want a year of being more present. Like this past year was just like so fast and furious for you that you feel like it just went by like in a blink.
But it was like fast or slow, right? Because like trapped with COVID, working from home, like inside my house for like the first like 4 months of my career, doing like absolutely nothing, I feel like. Or it was like boom, 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 or I think because there was no boom, boom, boom for so long of like doing activities, I like forced that like stimulation on myself, like I said, of like always FaceTiming someone, always listening to music, always podcasting. Cause like that's what we did in the quarantine. Like we found ways to like keep ourselves busy, and then like real life got busy, but I like brought that with me.
Yeah. Yeah. That makes sense. You brought it with you. I like how you put that. I'm telling you, man, you should start doing some type of meditation. You'd be like the perfect Like,
but here's the thing. I can't even do yoga because it's just so boring to me. I'm like, I can't just sit here. This is boring. Like, I'm like, put me in Zumba or something. Put me in like a fun, like.
You just said your goal is to sit in silence. Like you just
I know,
that.
but that's because I hate it. It's not because I like it. It's not because I want to do it.
But you're talking about 5 minutes. Like this, it's literally 5 to 10 minutes.
I think I would hate it. I would hate it.
I'm going to challenge you to that. I'm going to challenge you.
Okay.
Download the app Headspace, and there you go.
I've heard about this app so many times. Still hasn't grabbed my attention.
So funny. This is what my goal is. Oh, this is how I do this. No, I'm not interested in that. That's so great. That's so great. All right. Well, I appreciate you sharing this with us. And of course, you're going to have to check back. We're going to check back with you and see how your progress goes later on.
Yeah, let's say check back at the 6-month mark. A year seems too far.
No. Yeah, we won't go that far. We'll do 6 months. We'll do that.
So basically, we're talking in June, and I haven't even like looked into my hot air balloon festival trip. Just I've messed it all up.
Okay, we'll hold you to that. Thank you.
Okay, so 2 people on so far. You've seen that they've already have different ways of coming up with their goals, but still there's a level of structure there. There's a level of thinking things out, thinking about things you want to accomplish, things that you want to work towards. It's a theme we'll see carried out, carried throughout. And so here with our next person, you can see how detailed they were in how they came up with their goal.
All right, man, welcome. Let's talk about your goals. You ready?
I am. This is I'm excited for this. Let's dive into it.
So you actually sent me your goals ahead of time, which was very, very helpful. We'll talk about some of those and some of the categories you came. How did you come up with the categories that you set your goals on?
Yeah, so I kind of this is new for me. This is the first year I'm doing it, but when I set up my goals last year, I kind of just did a list of 15. And I realized a lot of them were performance-based, career-based. And I wanted to try to be more balanced, right? So that's kind of why I came with these categories. And this is just the generic, life, wealth, relationships, the happiness, that part. That's kind of why I just grouped it up that way.
You also worded it in a way that you've already done it. So yeah. I'm curious about that. Like it's already happened in your mind, right?
Yeah, that's like a Tony Robbins thing, right? It's like the way you phrase it, and when you read it, if it's past tense, it kind of it sets an anchor, right, mentally, where it's like, okay, this is something that's going to happen this year. So definitely, stole that one from Tony.
Okay, all right. So you have here some of the normal categories: health, finance, relationships, business, but you also have some really good categories that I don't think most people have. Number one of these proves that you're a better person than me, especially, I know you're younger, but you actually have like a contribution category of like things like ways of giving back, which to me, like I was truly impressed with, because I was like, man, I've never thought about like making a contribution back to society. I mean, I think I do, anyways, but I've never consciously thought about, okay, what are some contributions I can make? So I'm super impressed that you have that category.
No, I appreciate it. Yeah, this is the first year I'm doing that. I kind of stumbled upon it because it's like, the whole idea behind like what brings you joy, right? Mm-hmm. And when you start thinking about that, like that's a category of like happiness, right? I just, one of the things I learned in this last year, it's like, you definitely get joy out of your own accomplishments, but to help somebody or see somebody do theirs or be a hand in it, that's like tenfold.
Yeah, it's amazing. Like I read something a long time ago. I wish I could remember where I saw it, but it said, I think it was probably Jim Rohn, but he said, you can if you help other people's dreams come true, all your dreams will come true. Right. And I've thought about that for years and years and years. Like, how do I help people, how do I help people save more money or invest or help these families that I'm working with? And if I do that, all my dreams will come true. So one of these that I like of yours, you put out, I help somebody complete one of their goals for the year. So that's pretty neat. So helping, you're taking a proactive approach to helping somebody else with their goals, which is really, 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 really neat to see.
Yeah, it's kind of, I mean, when I wrote that, I kind of did it strategically too. It's, when you get so focused in on your own goals, right? There's that part, relationships, and how do you get to know someone really well? It's like you figure out what drives them and what's important to them.
Yeah.
So it's kind of like it's a twofold in that one, but yeah, it's going to be a new thing for this year. So I'm excited about it.
So the other two categories that I really enjoyed is you put habits to kill and habits to start, which are really good categories that, again, most people don't have. Is like, what are some bad habits I want to get rid of? Which one of these on here, I have no idea how you're going to do it. One of them is I'm no longer using my phone while in bed.
Yeah, no, that's
Isn't your phone your alarm clock?
Yeah, it is. So, there's an idea behind that. It's like there's definitely that thing of like when you're laying in bed late at night and it's like, I wonder why I'm restless, why I can't sleep, right? It's, I just scrolled through Instagram for 30 minutes or whatever it may be. But, I don't even know where I got it from. But the idea of just, setting your alarm on your phone for sure. But if you put it on your desk or somewhere away from your bed, not only does it keep you from looking at your phone, staying awake, it's midnight and now you're still scrolling through Instagram, but also when the alarm goes off, right, you got to get out of bed to go turn it off. You can't just snooze it.
Right. Yeah. Just make sure your volume's up. Yeah, that's a good one. Well, yeah, there is a lot to be said for that, where you're not giving your eyes a chance to adjust. And so when it's time to go to bed, your eyes are not ready for it, basically, right?
Yeah, and that's like something I learned this last year, because there's Instagram is that endless scroll, right? And you start wondering, it's like, why can't I, why am I waking up and I'm still tired? It's like, oh, I spent an hour on Instagram last night.
Yeah,
or whatever.
I remember, like, I always say, like, we all have our Bermuda Triangle of unproductivity, right? Whether it's Instagram, YouTube, and TikTok, or whatever the three apps. It's like, hey, do you want to do this? No, I'm busy. I'll be opening the same three apps for the next 4 hours. I'm sorry, I can't help you.
Yeah, and you wonder why, it's like, 2 hours have passed, I haven't got much done. Oh yeah,
yeah, exactly. Well, so you have habits to kill, and then you also have habits to start. And one of these I truly, I like is the, reading before bed, but also the mapping out your day before it happens. So that's definitely a good one.
Yeah, go ahead.
Go for it.
So the reading before bed one, I stole that from this challenge I did this year. It's called 75 Hard Challenge. And one of the things that you had to do was, read 10 pages every day, right? And I noticed, like, when you do it right before you go to bed, and if you keep that habit, not only are you not using your phone, so you're knocking out two goals with one, right?
Right.
But also it's like, especially if it's a more boring book that you're trying to push through, that's the best sleep aid there is.
Yeah, that's exactly right. And the mapping out. So I used to take day calendars, right? And I'd take a day calendar, and then I would rip the day off, and then I would use the back side of that to map out the next day, and then I'd carry it around in my pocket, just because I think it's a good way to, think about the things you want to get done and write kind of the most important things at the top. I would even draw a line down the middle and a line across the middle to basically have quadrants, right? So this is what I need to do tomorrow for me, like investing. This is what I need to do for school. This is what I need to do for my health, and I would have those little categories. And so every day I'd just be looking at that. So I still buy day calendars. I'm still that guy who buys day calendars because of that.
That's awesome. When you did it, did you, put, I'm doing this, from this time to this time, or did you give yourself a duration?
No, I didn't really do that, because, like, I never know when I'm going to get a phone call or something from somebody. So, but I do know the way that, willpower and all that stuff works is, if you have something you really need to get done, you need to do it first, because you only have so much time in the day. You only have so much willpower, and, you got to get those things knocked out early. But it also, for some reason made me sleep better, because instead of thinking about everything I got to do tomorrow, I've already written it down. And so that's kind of out of my mind, you know. But I think those are the things that definitely help. Like one year, like I'm kind of a night owl. And so to try to get myself to wake up early, instead of saying I'm going to wake up early, I set a goal to see so many sunrises, which was like, you know, you talk about it's like a goal within a goal. Well, if I saw so many sunrises, then I had to get up early. Well, that was until the time changed. So I didn't really think that through very well, but for half the year, it worked pretty well.
That's awesome. Yeah, no, that's like the quantifying it, right? You know, it's that competitive side. It's like, okay, if I see this many sunrises, instead of just saying, hey, I'm going to wake up early.
Right. Well, setting a goal to wake up early isn't a big enough motivator. Like, you know, it's not like, I'm not, you know, you hear a lot of those things about, you know, so-and-so wakes up at 4:30 every morning, and they basically, like, that's not who I am. Like, I did my doctorate between 10 p.m. and 2 a.m. You know, this is not how my body clock works. So you got to figure out something else. So some of these you can work on right away. Like some of your health goals are half marathon, things like that. So my question to you would be, have you scheduled this yet?
So I've scheduled it, but way to call me out on it. I love it. So I've scheduled it. I know which one I'm doing, but have I paid for, you know, have I gone all in and buying the entrance and paying that fee? I haven't done it yet, you know? So it's like, that's that small commitment piece that I'm going to need to do at some point, but sooner rather than later, hopefully. Right.
Well, yeah, but you have a lot of goals on here. Like you have, let's see, I don't know, probably close to 30 goals that you're trying to accomplish next year. And one of the things I would suggest to you is to take this list that you have and create your top 10 list of, like, you know, take one from every category or two, you know, and look at all these and go, okay, what are my top 10 on here to do? Because some of these you can easily knock out. I mean, you have some real serious business stuff that you want to, you know, that you have to accomplish, but you also put in, like, you know, your faith goals, and you also put in like fun, like, and I think that's important too, to point out, is that, you know, if you're going to work hard, play hard, make sure you're putting some downtime in here so that you don't burn yourself out, because the trick to this is to be consistent over 5 years, not to try to accomplish every goal in 1 year and burn yourself out where you don't have any fun. So you did a good job of putting some trips on here, things that you can easily kind of schedule in advance and look forward to, so that you have that carrot 6 months out that says, okay, if I work really hard, I got this trip to, you know, New York or wherever it is already on the books. So you get to kind of, when you book a trip like that in advance, it's kind of a 2-part reward system, right? Because you get to look forward to it for 6 months, and then you get to actually take the trip.
Yeah.
So that's definitely a smart way to do it.
No, I got to give you kudos on that one. You said something to me one time. It's like, it's very difficult for a person to be balanced, right? In all aspects of life. Like usually they're really good at, you know, their career or whatever it may be, that one thing, but to be balanced is like, should be the goal that everybody chases. And that's something I think I learned this last year. And that's why I did the fun part, because not only is it a carrot, right? But it's like, you know, time flies, right? And you got to make sure that it's not all work and, you know, hey, I'm going to do X, Y, and Z for growth or whatever. It's got to be, there's that fun part of life too. Yeah.
Because time does pass quickly. I mean, all of a sudden it seems like, you know, we have the holiday season, and then all of a sudden it's April. And it's, you know, what happened to the last 3 months? I mean, you know, a lot of people are exhausted, and they just kind of take, you know, they work hard the first week of January, and then they don't have anything left.
Exactly. Yeah.
So that's good, man. Do you have any other things you want to discuss, talk about, point out? Any questions? I mean, you have like your finance goals, saving money, investing, which, you know, we talk about a lot already. Those are kind of the highlights I wanted to hit, because I really did think those were good categories that you came up with.
Yeah, I think the one thing that I really want to focus on this year, it's like that relationships piece. So whatever that may be for, people, but that's something that I think, especially when there's a certain type of person, right, that is super like, hey, I'm getting my goals in before the first of the year, like I'm writing them all down, and that's going to be what drives my year, right? And when I did that last year, you can get so focused on, okay, cross this one off. I got, all right, no break. Let's go to the next one.
Right.
And in that, when you focus in on that, right, in a way, at least the way I kind of felt, it's like there's that selfish element, right? And it's like, okay, I'm not going to do this because I need to hit this goal.
Right.
And I'm going to rest once I hit the goal. But in reality, you're never going to hit all the goals by the end of the year. That's the hope, and that's what you want to drive for. But the odds of you doing that, slim. Yeah. So that's why I made sure to have that relationships piece in there. It's because there is that part of life, right, where you just that should be a priority. That shouldn't fall off to the wayside, to be so focused on whatever your main goals are in terms of career performance.
Well, because at the end of the day, the journey is the reward. And so it's kind of, I discussed, a couple podcasts ago about when people set reading goals, try not to just, go through as many books as possible without actually, just being able to say that you've read so many books. I mean, you have to really, enjoy them and take them in. And it's the same thing when it comes to your goals or building a business or your investment portfolio or your health goals or whatever. You got to enjoy the process. And it's not just about checking boxes. I mean, sometimes we just get this hyper focus on checking the box. And, we think, okay, once I hit this, I'm going to be fulfilled, but that's not really the case, right? There's a lot of people that are super successful in one area of their life and they're not fulfilled. I mean, we see that every single day. And they're like, man, when I get this next car, this next house, this next whatever it is, I'm going to be happy. And then, everywhere they go, there they are, and they're unhappy. And, exactly. we all know people like that. So, no, that's good, man. The way this works is, of course, you got to come back and talk to us about your progress. So we're all going to be looking forward to that. That's the accountability.
Exactly. And, next time we talk, I'll have that half marathon done.
Yeah, that'll be good. Well, I appreciate you taking the time, man. Thank you.
Appreciate it. Thank you, Ryan.
Amazingly well done. I'm getting excited already just thinking about the follow-up conversations I get to have with these people. All right, so we got one more, last but not least. Stay with us till the end. This one's really good. I'm amazed that, you've heard me say it in some of these already, but the amount of care that some of these individuals have put into their goals, not only in their goals, but their goals of giving back to others. And you're going to see that theme carry forward here with our last conversation.
All right. Well, thank you for coming on the podcast today. We can talk about your goals however you want. If you want to start with categories or individual goals, wherever you want to start. How do you want to do this?
Yes, of course. First off, I want to say thank you for having me. It's a pleasure. I mean, what a great way to start 2022 than being on the Investor Professor podcast. So thank you.
Absolutely. Some people's, dreams are other people's nightmares. So.
Well, we can start with a theme. So what's been really heavy on me on what I really want to see in 2022 is, independence and growth. And that's both personal and professional. 2021 was a great year. I got out of my comfort zone. I started my own business. I got in a relationship. Beautiful things have happened. And I just feel like 2022 is just another level of me really testing what I'm capable of doing. Okay. And so with that being said, as a college student, I'm a senior about to graduate, and I am going to be leaving the comfort of the nest, I guess you can say, of my parents' house, and I'll be getting my own apartment and having that financial, independence of being responsible of your own bills and just living on your own. So that's going to be something in 2022. So I'll be saving up money. I have some measurable tactics on how I'm going to be achieving that. So every paycheck, I will be contributing $50 set aside for investing. I still want to do that. But every 3 months is $1,000. And if I see that that's a little too easy, then I will adjust it. But right now, every 3 months, the goal is to have $1,000 in increments.
Okay.
But yeah, I mean, I just feel like in my bones, 2022 is all about
it's a big year. I mean, it's a big year for you too, because you said like you're a senior in college, so you're going to be graduating.
Right.
You started a business. You might be looking to get some kind of, other employment. I don't know. So, I mean, there's going to be a lot of moving pieces for you this year.
Exactly. So a lot of things to juggle, and that's what's going to be challenging. And that's where the growth comes in. I'm going to be put into an uncomfortable situation. I'm not used to being on my own, and and I have an apartment plus a business plus school and employment. It's a lot of things. It's going to be hard. I'm not going to sugarcoat it.
Right.
But that's how I'm going to grow. And there's a lot of opportunities in 2022. I started a job as an operations specialist for a interior design store. A lot of opportunity with that company. And I have a lot of goals on how we can scale it, as well as with my own brand of unlimited jewelry. Just focusing on the product development with my company, figuring out really what I want to deliver to my customers. I have launched and I get compliments on my designs. I sold out, which is great. It's an awesome, thing. But I just feel with my company, there's something lacking. And that's what 2022, that's what I'm going to focus on. Okay. With my products, I don't really see myself in it. And it has to have a reflection of me and my heart and my products. And I just don't see that yet. And so that is one thing that I'm going to do is focus on the product development of Unlimited and e-commerce. I don't have a website. So working towards getting my products and establishing a website that I have envisioned is something that's going to be happening. And then my deadline is the summer in 2022.
Okay. That's great. No, that's great. And it's good that you put some deadlines in there for yourself so you can hold yourself accountable.
Right. Yeah. Because, I mean, it's not achievable if I just say, oh, I'm going to work out more. What does that really mean? You have to put some measurements into it. Yeah. Work out 3 times a week.
Exactly. That's good. Okay. What else you got?
I have relationships.
Okay.
Is a theme that's been really heavy on my heart. I have noticed that we are very disconnected. It's like a world of silence. We're not talking with each other, engaging, and really neglecting relationships. And I have someone really close to me that went through a divorce, and just seeing the lack of communication can affect on a relationship. So I'm really putting a priority on relationships, family, friends, my romantic relationship, having a date night once a week so we can have that one-on-one conversation, and just having dinner at the house, just spending that time, no phones, being really present with the people that you care about. And how I'm measuring that is my phone. I have it on vibrate since my first phone. Like in middle school, I always had it on vibrate. I have a lot of friends that still have their phone on vibrate. And the problem with that is I leave it in my purse or I leave it on the table. And then I pick up my phone like, oh, did anyone message me? Oh, no. Okay. Well, since I'm on my phone, we go on social media. So it's just a thing. And
Right.
So how I'm going to measure being, more present is putting the ringer on my phone, putting the sound on. So I know exactly if I get a phone call, a text message, I can look, okay, respond, put it away. But I'm not doing those unnecessary phone checks to see if that person messaged me or do I have any cool update,
Yeah.
I need to
The,
set aside my phone.
the constant, the barrage of notifications and stuff. I mean, it's kind of it's not an odd thing, but it's a recurring theme that everybody that I've talked to that's under the age of, let's say, 26, this is something they bring up. Being more present. Like, I go to dinner with my friends, but they're all on their phones the entire time we're at dinner. So yes, I had dinner with my friends, but none of us were present.
Exactly.
Right. You see, like, the deal that where, younger people will go to dinner, they'll put their phones in the middle of the table, and whoever picks up their phone first has to pay for dinner. Right. As a way to kind of, with this theme of being present with the relationships you have with people in real life, is something that is coming up over and over and over again. And it seems like maybe because of COVID and this staying at home, and we got so connected to our phones that we're having a tough time of pulling ourselves away from them to be present when we're actually in front of people again. And so
I totally agree.
That seems like that is a recurring theme for 2022, is like, hey, when I'm with somebody, I want to give them my full attention. I want to be present in the moment, and not being too concerned with things that are going on, in my digital world. Now, of course, with the metaverse and all that kind of stuff, they're going to be mad about that. They don't want you to be present.
Right. Yeah. But I mean, it's just, I don't know. For me, I just don't really care for it, because I'm here with this person, but you don't see me. Like, I'm not really here with you. You're in this different world. And I mean, we as humans, we're social animals. We have to be socializing and to feel connected and loved. And I mean, I don't know.
You see that all the time, though, right? If somebody has so many followers, they have all this, but they don't really have any, like, quote unquote, real relationships, right? So you get this feeling of emptiness, right? And you're always trying to, you see how many likes you have or whatever to get that validation that I'm important, people care about me, but it's something that's fleeting, right? Because it doesn't have any real, weight to it. Right. Exactly. Where you actually don't really know the people. You basically know of a lot of people, but you don't really know anybody. That can be a dangerous place to be.
Exactly. I totally agree.
That's a good category. Relationships are important. I mean, if you don't have people you're working hard for or whatever, I mean, it takes the, it can actually be demotivating, right? If you don't have people you're working hard for or whatever.
And I mean, it's a form of communication. If you're more present, then you're improving your communication, because it's nonverbal and verbal communication. And everything, I come to realize that everything revolves around communication, whether that's relationships, romantic, family, friends, work, employees, clients. It's all about being able to effectively communicate. So
yeah, I mean, it's impacted a lot of the decisions in my life. Like, I could have gone and worked for a hedge fund, or I could have worked for a big mutual fund and not known the people that I'm working for and helping, or the same thing with teaching. I mean, to me, it's all about, like, I love the fact that I know my clients, I know about their families, I know their kids, their grandkids. I can see the impact that I'm having. It's the same thing with, like, being a university professor, helping. Nobody says, hey, I want to go to college because I want to mess my life up.
Right.
I mean, they're always there, so you're surrounded by people who are trying to improve their life, which is intoxicating. I mean, it's wonderful to be surrounded by people that are like that, because when you get out in the real world, not everybody is like that. It's just not the way it works, So what other category do you have for us, or goals do you have for us for next year?
So I mentioned that I'm starting at an interior design company.
Right.
And with that, I have some goals professionally.
Okay.
With that, it's my first adult position. I have benefits and I have a good pay. I'm really excited. And
you don't have to work the weekends.
Exactly. So I'm really, really excited. And I have, the founder and owner has the same mission that I do about empowering women and having a purpose through the products. So it all really aligns with my company and hers. So I'm really excited to be on board just to scale, her business.
Isn't it amazing how when you work in a business or that aligns with your goals, how much it doesn't feel like work?
Exactly. I want to go to work.
Right.
I'm motivated.
Yeah.
I am motivated to go to work, and it's because I believe in it.
Yeah. No, it makes a big difference. It makes all the difference in the world, actually.
But with this company, I have some goals of having a team under me. It's within 3 years that she's been operating, but she's like, I have a vision. This is not going to be a small business. It's going to be a big thing. So my goal is to have to hire and retain 4 employees under me as a team of operations. Also, travel within the company. There's a lot of opportunities for travel within this position. And one of them is the World Trade Center. I have been to the apparel and accessories market for fashion, but I haven't been for design. And from what I have heard, this is an amazing experience. And just having all these artisans from all around the world display their products. So I'm making it a goal of mine professionally that I can go to the design market.
So when is that?
We have one actually in January. So this month.
You could click that off pretty quick.
I know. I'm trying to work to make that happen so I can check that off my list. And then later down, I don't know what month it is, but it's later down in the year.
Okay.
But yeah, I'm going to make that happen. And then this is not really professional, but it's kind of goes into multiple categories of health and personal growth and relationship as well. I'm going to have a 5 a.m. run with my boyfriend every day. We're going to incorporate that. I'm not a huge runner, and I'm kind of embarrassed of that, but I acknowledge that I'm not great, and I want to improve on it. It's a goal of mine for the next year. And he's a runner, so it's going to be something that we do together to start the day at 5 a.m. and just really clear my mind. I have found, because I ran this summer, and yes, it was hard because I'm out of shape, but I got the rhythm down. And then I realized it's very therapeutic, I have so much things going on in my head. And when I run, it's just me and running. I don't know, it's a good escape.
Therapeutic. I mean, people, the marathons I've done, people are like, do you like running? I'm like, no, I don't really enjoy it, but I need the mental escape. I need the time alone. There's a lot of things that there's a lot of pieces of my life that benefit because I run or work out or whatever it is. And normally, I'm older, so, I lift weights and then I get kind of tired of that. I run, kind of get tired of that. So I have to just kind of keep switching things, basically just to have a little bit of variety. But yeah, I mean, there's a lot of therapeutic things that can happen from running or any kind of exercise routine. I mean, it's the number one way to fight depression. I mean, there's a lot of things that definitely allow you to do that. Now, I have no interest in running at 5 a.m. I'll say that.
No.
No, I'm not an early morning I just can't. I don't know. It's just not for me. But go for it. So that'll be, I think you'll be surprised how much that'll be an anchor for your days.
Yes. Because, I picked 5 a.m. because I have so much that I want to accomplish in the year, and just to get a head start, because I'm used to waking up at 6 in the morning. So an hour early, 5 o'clock, okay, and work on something that I want to improve, which is running. I get to have that bonding time with my boyfriend, start the day good, blood flowing, it's an escape, yes. But also because I have seen a lot of successful people, wake up really early, you know,
Yeah, no,
because
I
it's
know.
more time in the day for you to accomplish things.
Right.
And
for sure.
exercise is a key factor too. So,
Well, and if you're getting up at 5 a.m. every day, what are you not doing?
what do you mean?
You're not staying up late.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? So you can't go to bed at midnight every night and get up at 5 a.m. every day. That's not a good long-term strategy. So
No.
that 5 a.m. run is also an anchor for you to go to bed, not stay up on your phone, that kind of thing, right? Because it might work for 3 days, but it's not going to work for 3 weeks. You just don't have enough in you. You got to get some sleep. So that's a good one. Good.
Yes.
All right. Anything else you want to discuss?
Yeah, there's one other last thing. It's more professional. It's more personal.
Okay.
I'm very involved with nonprofits and outreach programs with children at risk. And so what's been really weighing heavy on my heart is writing a book. And I don't know where that came from. I am not a huge writer, but it's just been in my head for the last couple of months. Like, you need to write a book. And so I'm thinking, like, what does this entail? Is it a, self-help book? Is it a motivation thing? Is it what is it? And while I've been thinking about it from, the past months, it's been children. And so just seeing, firsthand with these children with the outreach program and just necessary things that's really important, like learning empathy and like healthy relationships and motivating them that they're able to do, like they're capable of great things. Very inspiring, like life-giving book for children. And last month I kind of started on that, just breaking down a little outline of what that would look like. And that is something that by the end of 2022, I will want to accomplish, is finish the book and have it published of children. It's a children's book.
Okay.
I'm still trying to figure out the details of it, but
That's an amazing goal.
That is what I want to do, is I want to write a children's book.
That'll be good. Yeah. I mean, from the writing process can be, it can be tedious, right? So, I guess you came up with an outline of like what the chapters would be. Is that kind of
like
what you're just kind of thinking about? Yeah.
And like the illustrations too, because the children's book, but it's just always been popping up. I've been trying to push it aside. So I'm like, that's crazy. Like I said, I'm not a writer. But people I talk to are like, oh, I want to write a book. Or I have a friend that just, wrote her first book. I'm like, why does this keep on popping up in my life?
Yeah, it's like buying a new car and then you see it at every stoplight, right? Most of the authors I follow, they say, where did you get this idea? And it's like they said, I wrote this book so I could stop thinking about it. Like they said, like I couldn't get this thought out of my head. And the only way to get it out of my head was to write about it, write the book. And so that I don't have to think about it anymore. It's almost like their brain was forcing them to do it. And so you're not crazy when it comes to that. There's a lot of authors that have said that over and over and over again. So, but that'll be probably pretty therapeutic too. I mean, once you kind of get in the groove, once you get the structure down, that'll be interesting to, I can't wait to check the progress on that.
Thank you.
That'll be pretty neat to see.
And that's kind of where I got go ahead.
Go for it.
I said that's where I kind of got the 5 a.m. run from, is to have more time in the day, because I have already so much on my plate, but just to have that little window of being my creative hour of, okay, I'm dedicating this time to writing the book. So really, I guess, 2022 is, yes, about independence and growth, but also like structure,
Yeah, we all need, we say we don't want structure, but we do. Like everybody likes a routine. We perform better. We talked about just a little while ago about COVID, and it also got people out of their routines, right? People not going to work. Now they don't want to go to work. I mean, but we need some kind of structure, stability, and something that we can count on so that we can basically be at our best. I mean, because when you start breaking your day down, you realize that you do waste a lot of time. There's a lot of like little pockets of time that we could do well on. I think it's pretty amazing. Like your generation, most of everybody I talk to, y'all have all, I've said that y'all are much better people than I am, because y'all have all had some kind of goal where you want to give back. And I got to tell you, when I was that age, I wasn't thinking about that at all, at all. And I've just been amazed that, that y'all have these categories of, okay, this is how I want to give back. Like it's in your generation has it's just a natural thought for all of you, which is pretty remarkable to see, which is really neat, because, a lot of times people say, oh, younger generations, they're this, they're that. But the fact of the matter is every generation has hard workers. Every generation has lazy people. Every generation,
Yes.
like every single generation has the types of people we like or don't like, or the traits that we like or don't like. But for me, I mean, I work with a lot of younger people, and I've noticed the charitable giving, or the giving back or helping others, is very, very apparent with all of you, which is just amazing.
I feel like it's a movement. It's a huge movement going on. And I feel like we were made for a purpose. We're made to create. And we want to be part of something, bigger than ourselves. Something with a purpose.
Right.
And I see that with a lot of like big box companies too. Like they're jumping on the bandwagon too of giving back. But yeah, I definitely see that too.
Awesome. Well, I appreciate your time today. And of course, we're going to check back with you. We're going to check back with you mid-year. We'll find out how this is all going. Okay.
Okay. But
Thank
one
you.
little thing,
Go for it.
So I have this little spiral notebook from when I took your class.
Yeah.
And I have it broken down of the different categories of goals that you mentioned. And I thought it was funny because when you close it, on the front, it says Dr. Peckham's notes. And then a little arrow that says, hire him after college. So that might be a goal of mine since I'm graduating this year.
That's so funny. That is really funny. Number one, it's funny that you actually paid attention. But, I always tell people when I'm teaching a class, there's always 2 to 3 people that I'm teaching the class for. I mean, that's normally, what you get, but I'm happy to assist you in any way possible. And I really do appreciate you coming on, and we'll check back with you soon.
Thank you.
Well, there you have it. That is the final person for our big 2022 goal show. I think this has been a pretty impactful episode. I really appreciate all the time and effort our participants put into this, and also being so open to share their goals with us. Look forward to touching base with them maybe mid-year or so, find out how the progress is going, and seeing what we would do with that. I've also had many ask me like some of my goals, right? So some of my goals for 2022 is obviously to help more people realize their goals. That was one of the main reasons I started doing this podcast, was to be able to educate people, help them on their financial journey, their entrepreneurship journey, whatever that is. And so I want to make a more conscious effort to do that as well this year. I think we just crossed 3,000 downloads. Hoping by the end of next year we hit 1,520. The momentum seems to be picking up. Every single week we have more listeners, and so that's pretty exciting. So I hope to be able to add more content, better guests, all those kind of things, keep people interested. Personally, I'm looking to help my daughters start this process of setting goals and having things that they want to reach for in the next year or so. My personal goals, I feel like my life is going really well. I just want to keep things going, right? But I'll grow my business, grow my personal investments. The same things that I kind of always do. I'm looking to run the Berlin Marathon again this year. And so, the same goals that y'all have, fitness, health, wealth, all of these things, I have those too. And I'll be there with you every step of the way. So I appreciate your time. I appreciate all the support that you've given me over this past year as we've started this this process. Maybe one of my goals should be editing a better podcast. I'll work on that. So thank you very much. Appreciate the support, and make 2022 yours.